Now then, am I on or what? Is it working? We're on. We're on. We're on. We're live. Hello, everyone. Everyone. There's no one watching at the minute, but I have literally just gone live. So this is my first live thing on my own. Games and Graps YouTube channel, but not talking wrestling or gaming tonight. Good evening, Bearded Buffoon is in the chat. Nice to see you, sir. To see you. Nice. So not gaming, not Graps tonight. We are talking about the transfer window, the deadline day. The window closes in under an hour. But breaking news, and I'm going to have a bit of a play around here. Breaking news. So Newcastle are in the EFL Cup final, their first final for about 4,000 years. They've just beat Southampton 2-1, so they're in the final, and I would imagine they're going to be playing Manchester United in the final. There we go. Newcastle, the domination era begins, and you know what? I would put United as favourites in that final, but you never know. You never know. Newcastle don't concede a lot of goals, but United are doing well. Right, I've got 5 people watching. Bloody hell! I look pale as shit. I mean, look at me, really ghosty white. I'm usually in bed by now. This is way past my bedroom, my bedtime, kids. Can anyone let me know? Can you hear me okay? Does it sound all right? I know I don't look all right. I look like shit, but just let me know what is happening. So I am pale as shit. You are right, Sonny, and you're old as shit. But there we go. Thank you for letting me use your YouTube channel. Thanks for joining. I think it's the lighting. It's poor lighting in here. I'm literally using the light from my second monitor to illuminate me. Mark Westwood is here. Good evening, Mr. Westwood. Can't believe you turned down Everton. Was Giroud linked with Everton? I'm assuming that's what. I'm not saying I look like Giroud. Mark says that I look like Giroud. Mark needs his laser eye surgery updated. Coming through loud and clear. Cheers, Dippy. Right, so let's talk transfers. Final day. There's been some really just out there. They've come out of really nowhere, some of these transfers. So Matt Doherty has gone to Atletico Madrid. Who saw that one coming? It's on loan. So he's gone from Tottenham. So it looks like they're going to go with Emerson Royale and I'm guessing Pedro Porro as their 2 right backs. Someone else has gone from Tottenham as well, and I can't think for the life of me who it is. It's a right back, isn't it? Apparently 3.5 million contract and staying up bonus for Giroud to Everton. But they've just been saying on Sky Sports News that Sean Dyche has been seen leaving the Everton training ground. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to sign anyone. But it doesn't look good. But I mean, when did he actually come into the job? Yesterday? You know, I mean, it's going to be difficult. Jed Spence, that's the one. Thank you, Dippy. Look at Dippy with the knowledge. That's what you get when you listen to the Added Time Football podcast. You go from being not really into football to knowing that Jed Spence has gone out on loan from Spurs to Rennes, I believe. Chris is here. Chris, how are you? Look, you're not going to get any abuse from me because Leicester are crap as well. So Chris is an Everton fan. Please be gentle with him. Nobody is coming in for us, Stevie boy. No, it doesn't look like it, mate. And dare I ask, how are you feeling? How are you feeling with with everything that's been going on at Everton? Are you happy with Dyche coming in? Did you want to see Lampard go? Let me know. Just Billy Buffoon. I work with Forest fans who still rim him and abuse him for not wanting to stay there. Can't blame them. Forest scumbags. No. Yeah, I know they really rate him. I was hoping that Leicester would probably go in for Jed Spence as a as maybe a loan deal, get another fullback in. Obviously, Leicester have signed Christiansen, who is a left back. Ricardo Pereira is back, but I've had a little thought in terms of what is going on at Leicester. So we've signed Tete, which is brilliant, a right winger that we've needed. We've got him from Lyon until at least the end of the season, but I think the player himself wants to stay for a couple of years. There was talk of Jack Harrison coming in, but I think Leeds wanted around 40, 50 million, which is, for me, crazy money. I think he's a decent player, but he's not worth that. I mean, if he's worth that, him and I'm going to compare him to Maddison. Maddison's got 18 months on his contract, same as Harrison. If Leeds value Harrison at 50 million, Leicester shouldn't be accepting anything less than 90 for Maddison. But it doesn't look like anyone's going to come in for Maddison. Touch wood, famous last words. He will go in the summer. I did see earlier that Man City are monitoring it. I think I'd rather see him go Man City than Newcastle, just being honest. Chris has put, seeing my club being destroyed by the board, mate, it's grim. Yeah, it's just failing after failing, isn't it, at Everton? Poor signings, poorly mismanaged. Starting to see a little bit of it at my club as well. So, yeah, I do genuinely feel for you in that sense. Like I say, it's going to be an interesting end to the season because there's a few clubs down there that are in that same boat, losing players. Now, going back to Leicester ever so quickly. So we've signed Tete. We were linked with Harrison. It looks like Harry Souttar's going to come in, who is centre-back, Australian centre-back from Stoke. He's been at the training ground since this afternoon having a medical. 6'6" centre-back. Someone who don't mind sticking his head in there. Looked fairly good at the World Cup for Australia. But what I do find bizarre in a way is we've allowed Ayoze Perez to go out on loan to Real Betis. I mean, it's what he wanted. He's a player that I believe has only got 6 months left on his contract. And then in the last sort of hour or so, it's been widely reported now that Mark Albrighton is looking like he's going to go out on loan to West Brom. It's the player's choice, not the club's choice. So although Perez not a natural winger, he can play on the wing. And Albrighton, although not the player he was 6 years ago, still plays on the wing. Came on against Brighton and scored. Played on the wing and scored. But he wants more regular football. So Leicester are allowing two attacking players to go, but only really bringing one in. So actually, we're going to be worse off by the end of this window in terms of attacking. The only thing I can think is that obviously Maddison is back and fingers crossed, no injuries, that he can play on the right if needed. Dennis Pratt, although seemingly made of Weetabix, he can play out on the right as well. But Barnes or Tete get injured and we're back to having one recognised winger at the club. So maybe with Albrighton going and Perez going, maybe there is a deal somewhere in terms of a player coming in at Leicester, maybe another winger. I did just see on Twitter there was talk of Elanga coming in potentially. Not really sure about that myself. We'll see. If it's a winger, it's a winger. So yeah, well, strange one. It went from looking like a half decent window to now being like, oh shit, actually, we still haven't got enough wingers at the club. There we go. Chris has put, think Dyche will do as best he can with a poor bunch of players. I won't put any blame on him come the end of the season. Look, the one thing that you get from a Sean Dyche team is they're organised, they're hard to break down at times, and he's going to be working with a handful of players that he's worked with before, isn't he? So Tarkowski, Keane, Dwight McNeil. I believe there's one more as well. I can't think off the top of my head. So let's see what happens. I mean, there was a few Leicester fans out, wondering whether Dyche would be the person that comes in should Brendan Rodgers go. It was getting to a point that maybe to keep us up, we'd look at Dyche, but I think the board at Leicester know that they've not backed Rodgers, so they want to, reward him in such a way in a certain way by saying, we're not going to sack you because we've not really backed you. So the big one that's been rumbling on all day is Enzo Fernandez to Chelsea. So Chelsea, who seemingly just don't give a shit about FFP, are just out there playing Football Manager in real life. It's still not official that Fernandez is going to go to Chelsea, but there's a lot of tweets coming in now from reliable people in the media saying that it is done, the medical's been complete, it's all now down to paperwork being done within the deadline. Now, there's a thing with the transfer windows where they agree like deals in principle, and they can from 9 o'clock onwards they can hand in deal sheets, which my understanding is that basically it's everything, 99% of this deal is done. We may not get it all done by 11, but can you give us a bit of special dispensation? The thing that's been holding up the Fernandez deal, by the sounds of it, is Chelsea wanted to pay for him over 6 payments, 6 installments over 5 years. I think Benfica were like, that's a bit of a piss take, that is. So ultimately what they've done is gone back and said, okay, well, we'll pay for it 3 installments over 2 years. And this will all be to do getting around FFP and tax and all this sort of thing. But it does look like, there is a deal in principle, that it is going to happen. It'll be a British record fee for a player, 105 million quid, 120 million euros. Look, he had a brilliant World Cup. He looked excellent. And, he always looked destined to go on to the Premier League in some way, shape or form, or maybe one of the big Spanish teams. But that's a lot of money. And it's another midfielder that Chelsea have brought in. So Chelsea have had to make a bit of room. Obviously, Jorginho has gone from Chelsea to Arsenal, which I think some people are surprised at. But again, I heard earlier that Arteta was interested in him in 2020 when they bought Thomas Partey. Now, look, I don't want to go down that route necessarily, but we don't know what's going to happen with him in the future. I actually think the Jorginho thing is a good signing. Is a good signing. If Arteta wants him, it doesn't feel like a desperate signing or anything like that. I don't know if Westy, if you're still watching, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the signing of Jorginho. I think he's a decent player. He's a winner as well. He is a winner. Going back to the comments, so Chris has put, any fighting chance we had of staying up has been completely extinguished tonight. Board is clearly on damage limitation mode now and have accepted our fate. Dark day of in the history of the club. Yeah, not good. You never know. You never know, though, mate. I get the feeling that with that bottom part of the table, I've said it on the podcast a few times, that if you speak to Leicester fans, speak to Leeds, speak to West Ham fans, Everton fans, Bournemouth, they all think they're going to get relegated. Now, only 3 of them can go. Southampton, you've got to put down there as well. Only 3 of them can go. It just seems that everyone feels like their team is going to be the one that goes down. But yeah, we'll wait and see. I mean, it just feels very, very toxic at Everton right now from the outside looking in. And Chris, you know more than me. I'm going on what you're saying. So yeah, not good for you guys. So United didn't look like they were going to be in the market for anyone, but they surprised everyone today by getting Marcel Sabitzer on loan. There's no option at the end of it to buy the player. It's just a straight loan, and it's come about mainly because Eriksen is now out until I think it's like end of April, May time. So you may as well say he's out for the season. He got absolutely walloped by Andy Carroll at the weekend. Didn't get booked. Classic. He's out, and they need a bit of a. Ten Hag feels he needs some reinforcement in there. I think it's a good signing. I think he's a good player. Ten Hag knows him, wanted to work with him, and yeah, it's. I've seen people saying it's a desperation signing. It's not. It's not. You know, he obviously. There's obviously something he's not quite happy with in terms of, you know, he doesn't feel like McTominay can fill that role or necessarily Fred, and he's bringing in Sabitzer. So a good signing. I think it sounds like he was after him in the summer as well, Ten Hag. So obviously someone he's admired for a while. Mr. Westwood has put, it's a sensible signing, experienced, and had won everything. In fact, hang on, I can do something here. I forgot I could do that. Elneny out for the season, and Lokonga not a defensive midfielder and very inexperienced, and now on loan. Yeah, he's gone out on loan to Crystal Palace. Glad it's only 18 months with option. Yeah. And then Mark's continued by saying, obviously would have loved Caicedo, but that fee for us, like Mudryk, went too far. Hopefully in the summer we can get 2 long-term replacements for Xhaka, Partey, and of course Jorginho. Now, yeah, I am surprised that Arsenal haven't gone for Tielemans. He's available for 25 mil. By all intents, the club Leicester would have let him go in this window for 25 mil. I'm glad, by the looks of it, he's not going anywhere. But yeah, I'm surprised by that. Maybe one for the summer when he is free. But it's an interesting. I find it interesting with Tielemans in that he's been linked with moves away for at least 3 windows now, and I've not seen anywhere that suggests a club has come in with an official bid for him. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, that means come the summer no one will want him and he'll sign a new deal with Leicester, because that isn't going to happen. You know, I don't believe anyway. I don't believe, and I actually it was reported yesterday that Tielemans and Maddison have both turned down improved contracts. Can't blame them really. They're both top players who should be playing at a higher level than what they currently are. You know, we're in the bottom part of the table, and they should be playing in Europe. So we'll see what happens there. Forest have signed centre-back Felipe from Atletico Madrid on a 1.5-year deal. It remains to be seen whether Forest are going to get Keylor Navas from PSG. I wouldn't have minded Leicester going for him, to be honest, but not to be. Obviously, Danny Ward he's obviously good enough. Okay. All right, what we got here then? So a quick look. Thanks for coming along. I know there's only like 4 or 5 of you watching, but I really appreciate it. I appreciate it's late and whatnot. I've set up my own YouTube channel, but I couldn't stream to that tonight some YouTube nonsense about having to have a account for 24 hours or something like that. So yeah, I've set up a YouTube. It's on the bottom. If you wouldn't mind just going in and subscribing, I'm gonna hopefully take the podcast into video format in the coming weeks. I may even do this week's podcast in video format. I'll trim the beard up though because it's a mess. Get used to that picture there because that's going to be behind me every week. Yeah, so like, subscribe, share, all that usual stuff, and I'll be there in glorious video format, in glorious 720p. I can't afford 1080. Tielemans has gone very quiet on Arsenal. On the Arsenal front, unsure if Arteta doesn't fancy him now or are prepared to wait until the summer. Again, more of an 8 in a 4-3-3, so not as urgent. Yeah, I've had people, people have said to me about like how good is Tielemans. Is it just a case of he looks good at Leicester without them being too disrespectful? Look, I think he's very technically gifted. I think he's obviously. He's got an eye for a pass, can clearly score great goals. We've seen 2 goal of the season contenders from him this season. And, I will always remember the FA Cup winning goal. I think the problem with Tielemans in terms of him being, going to the very, very top, if that makes sense, is that going backwards, he's not great. And I think that's why, like, a club like Liverpool haven't gone for him, because Klopp just wants players that can run and run and run in that midfield. That's why Henderson, because he just runs and runs and runs. And Tielemans can tackle. No two ways about it. But if Tielemans has ever had to drop in that defensive midfield role, then it's not worked out very good. I'm just having a look on Twitter. So I tweeted earlier. It's at Added Football, my Twitter. So I tweeted earlier about the fact that Leicester have loaned out a couple of players, and I've had a reply. This is Daniel Jones. Completely agree to let both Ayoze and Albrighton go is foolish. It will be interesting to see how we set up the remainder of the season with players coming back in from injury. He needs to utilise Kelechi far more often. There's a lot of calls from Leicester fans for Iheanacho to start. Vardy, unfortunately, getting on in age, which is a shame because what a player. Dako, it's just not quite worked for him at the moment. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, Ricardo Pereira's back, and with us signing a left back, I always thought Pereira could be pushed up further up the pitch and play on the right side of a 4-3-3. It has been tried, and he was okay. He wasn't great, but I mean, it remains to be seen with Pereira. I mean, the injuries he's had such bad luck. I just really hope he now gets a run in the team, stays injury free, but. A snapped ACL, a ruptured Achilles, and a broken leg in the space of 3 seasons. I doubt he's going to be the same player that he was. Biddy Buffoon, intrigued with the Weston McKennie signing for Leeds. Honestly, don't know a great deal about him, but from what I saw at the World Cup, him and Tyler Adams in the middle look a tidy pairing. I'd agree with you there. Good player. I mean, Juventus don't buy crap players. Normally, they might not do it legally, but they don't necessarily buy crap players. I only really know him from playing Football Manager. I always try and sign him on there just because he's decent. And yeah, I think that's a hell of a signing for Leeds. Obviously, there's that link with the American link with the manager and a couple of other players. So that that midfield of Adams, McKennie, Aronson. There's a lot of energy in that midfield, which I guess is, it fits into that sort of style of play. I mean, talking of Leeds, my very good friend Sam was very pleased to see Llorente go. He's gone to Roma for 18 million. So he's very, very pleased about about that. Mark has put McKennie is a good signing, but she'll see with any Premier adaptation. Yeah, it takes a while. It can take a while. Sometimes what you see though with these January signings is they come in, and because they're, I don't know, there might be a little bit of an unknown, or actually they've already had a half season and they're at the almost at the peak of their fitness. Fucking hair's doing me, I didn't. They just hit the ground running and they're unbelievable. And it's then in the start of the following season that they get worked out a bit and they may struggle. I'm thinking of like Diaz at Liverpool last season. I mean, he came in and looked absolutely unbelievable. I was like, shit, well, Liverpool have pulled it off again. Another great signing. And then at the start of the season wasn't great, and then now injured. So hard to tell really whether he would have been able to carry that on or pick up that form again. January signings. I mean, it's gone mental, hasn't it, in this window? It really has. It's I've known January transfer windows be just so boring and nothing's really happening. But there's a lot going on. A lot going on at the minute. So I am trying to keep an eye on everything. Got to turn the sound down on Sky Sports, or I'll get done probably for copyright. Let's have a quick look over on Twitter, see if there is any other news. What's Fabrizio Romano put in? Barcelona are closing in on a deal to sign Julian Araujo. Agreement reached. Understand it's a permanent deal from LA Galaxy. Okay. Contract will be valid until 2026. It'll be with the second team, Barca B. Mark has put easier for forwards. Easier for forwards, I think, with the speed going forward with the midfielders. The speed can be like basketball, especially at Leeds. Yeah, definitely. I always find that it's again, I don't want to make this too much like a flipping Leicester podcast or live, but I've seen it with Leicester where we've brought, even at the start, this doesn't matter when we've brought them in, but we've brought in midfielders and people have been really excited. I'm thinking like Gökhan Inler, Vicente Iborra, even Samare. Samare came with a little bit of hype. Yeah, he's still young, but they just can't get the pace of the Premier League. They want too much time on the ball, and they get found out. And whilst they might be sort of like classy players and they can look wonderful in like the Italian league when they can just be knocking the ball around and stuff, the Premier League, it's different. You've got players snapping at you, players wanting to go through the back of you. So it's a very different prospect. That's for sure. So 105 million for Fernandes. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, what's gonna happen with Chelsea? I mean, surely they're going to get, it's all going to get looked into, isn't it? I've not seen much in the way of outgoings. There was talk of Conor Gallagher going, Ziyech to PSG, but I've not seen much more in terms of outgoings with Chelsea. £20 fine, Mark has put. Yeah, so Fabrizio Romano has put that Enzo Fernandez will sign with Chelsea until June 2031. Exactly the same deal agreed on the first week of January. I can't believe that we're. I mean, that's an 8-year contract. I can't believe we're. Just in general, in life, I can't believe we're at the stage now where it's like, oh, the player's contract is running into 2030. Fucking hell. God, I feel old. £20 and a Fredo at today's prices. Yeah. There's certainly not a cost of living crisis at Stamford Bridge. That is for sure. Whilst there's a little bit of a lull, obviously don't forget to check out the weekly podcast. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, all those lovely places. Also, don't forget to check out the Games and Grats podcast, who have been ever so nice in letting me host this tonight. Last Games and Grats episode was brilliant, really, really funny. And the Clubhouse, I believe, is going to be back next week or this week even. I'm looking forward to it because I think Sonny's going to go off on a little bit of a rant about. It's going to go on a little bit of a rant about GoldenEye and people's expectations of a 25-year-old game. So I look forward to that. I do look forward to that. Is there an FA Cup replay tonight? Have a quick look. Talk among yourselves while I have a quick look. If I can find my Sky Sports app. Scores. Oh. Yes, there is. There is. Birmingham 0, Blackburn 1. Winners of that play Leicester. So Leicester-Blackburn in the next round. Banana skin. Right. They're like the NHL contracts that were handed out a few years ago. Yeah, Bearded Buffoon, you are very much into your NHL. She's weird. She worked for DHL. Anyway, shit joke. Yeah, I think the reason for these 7-8 year contracts that Chelsea have been handing out is a loophole, basically. But they are not going to be getting away with it for much longer because I think that loophole is going to be closed on them. And there's going to be a limit, or the most you can offer is a 5-year contract. It makes sense. That's the link you got me there. So, Jesus. Although we do have a signed Leicester shirt in reception and sponsor Man United. I bet that signed Leicester shirt goes down really well with the Forest fans at your place. But I suppose you're in that where you work. I'm not going to say exactly where you work. It's not my place to say. Other than you work for DHL. It's a bit of it's in the middle, isn't it? You know what I mean? Of those three teams. Yeah, those lot in League One. So River Plate are going to receive 41 million euros from this Fernandes transfer. So you can kind of start to understand why Benfica put such a big price tag on him. And that sort of thing is along with agent fees, that's driven up the price of transfers as well. So when Maguire went to United, Leicester being greedy, wanting that much. Yeah, but 15-20% of it had to go to Hull. And then some of that would have probably gone to Sheffield United as well. So it's the nature of the beast, unfortunately. So, all right, there's not long left in the old transfer window. I think I've covered all the main ones. Bournemouth have been busy as well. Leicester have signed a striker from America, from literally from a university. He's gone straight out on loan to the sister club, OH Leuven, which is a King Power owned club. So he goes straight over there. Might be interesting to see, won't it? I doubt he's Probably not cost us a lot of money. Yeah, on the subject of players going and stuff, there was talk earlier of Yannick Vestergaard going out on loan, but apparently he's turned down the loan move. It was to Hertha Berlin. Now, he's not the most popular amongst Leicester fans. He's on 80 grand a week, doesn't play. Turned down a move in the summer to go to Fulham. So obviously now with this move not materialising, people are assuming that it is just all money orientated and that he doesn't actually want to play football. But actually the player has come out and said, look, I'm not going to be uprooting my family to Germany for a few months when my wife is heavily pregnant. And do you know what? I appreciate it. I think I understand it completely, and fair play to him. And maybe people need to lay off him a little bit. So less than half an hour left in this transfer window. It's been a busy one. Like I said, Newcastle through to the EFL Cup final as well. Bruno Guimaraes got sent off, but he will play in the final because red cards just carry into the Premier League games in the Carabao Cup, which doesn't make sense to me. He should be banned for the final. But there we go. Thanks for sticking with me. I know I keep saying that, but I really appreciate it. It's the first time I've done this. And like I say, I'm hoping to take the podcast into a more video form very soon as well. So yeah, I guess we're just waiting now, aren't we? Really, for this Fernandes deal to be made official. I think clubs have a little bit of they've got a bit of a grace period. I mean, they can, although the window closes at 11, things can be announced way past that. Into the early hours. Let's have a look. Former Manchester United winger Bebe has joined Real Zaragoza from Rayo Vallecano. How old's he? Flipping hell. I've got to have a look. Bebe and United. He's got it. Oh, I hate this laptop. Well, I don't hate it. It's just that I'm so used to my work laptop keyboard that when I come to use this one, I type it in the wrong place. He was born in 1990, so yeah, 32. Flipping hell. Did he really only play 2 games for United? Oh, it's league games. He's been knocking around since 2009, and he's barely made 250 appearances in his career. That's crazy. Not the easy life. Like a third choice goalkeeper. That's the dream. That's the dream job, isn't it? Third choice goalkeeper. Can sit there on a couple of grand a week, turn up to training, play the odd under 23 game, might play in the Carabao Cup, might play in, if you're at one of the top clubs, you might play in, the arse end of nowhere in the Europa League once you've qualified. And then, yeah, easy life. And then while everyone's on international, you go and get your coaching badges. Should have been a goalkeeper. Not tall enough. Dippy, you should have been a goalkeeper. Dippies! Personal joke. Right, talking of Dippy, Beardy Buffoon. Can't see anything else from Leeds. Young defender signed early, who's gone straight into the under-21 setup, from what I understand. Hoping to see Rutter get up and running. Yeah, I don't think there'll be much more from Leeds. I was kind of hoping that Leicester would be able to get Harrison just to give us that extra option, but they've been priced out. Leicester have been priced out. And you know what? Fair enough. You know, a player's worth is it's whatever the club value the player at. You know, so I can't really argue with it. I mean, Christ, we've had some money out of some teams. Tell you that. Some interesting like sort of transfery stuff that didn't really materialize that I read or heard about earlier. There was talk of Maguire going to Inter Milan on loan. Yeah, doesn't look like it's going to happen at all. So yeah, there's a few saying here Harrison is staying at Leeds. Oh god, do you know what? I can just see it happening now. Tete gets injured at Villa at the weekend. People will be coming after John Rudkin after if that does happen. Although not a January signing, I've been happy with Notto. He has been playing and getting games. He looks great. He looks like a really, really good player and an absolute bargain. A couple of his goals recently have been unbelievable. He looks like an absolute bargain. So look, Leeds have got some good players. I'm just not sure about the manager. I think the other, yeah. Okay, so 20 odd minutes ago, it was reported there's contracting sources Ari Harrison, but something is keeping the talk of that deal alive, which I guess that something would be Albrighton going out on loan. Mark Albrighton is set to sign for West Brom on loan. It would be very strange for Leicester to let two wide right options leave without signing a replacement. There's contrasting sources. The Foxes would also need a new vice captain for the rest of the season. Albrighton was voted for by the players and staff at the start of the season, which shows the respect he has in the dressing room. That's another big thing. You know, there's been some big characters go out of that dressing room in the last couple of years. Wes Morgan, Kasper Schmeichel, and, you know, now Albrighton by the looks of it. I mean, it won't be long until Vardy is no longer in that dressing room. So, you know, it's time for us to start getting some leaders in as well. So Datro Fofana to remain at Chelsea tonight, no loan to Nice for the Ivorian forward. And they only just signed him. Chelsea. Very strange. No update yet on Harry Souttar, but someone has said that the lights are on at the King Power Stadium. So whether they're doing some announcement stuff, probably like with blow up kangaroos or some shite, some Vegemite, cans of Castlemaine. Just get all your Australian stereotypes in there. Been on a certain time for Jack Harrison, but as we are at 10:30, he stays at Leeds. Looks like the club are done for this window. In which case, it seems rather odd that LCFC will let two wingers leave with only Tete coming in. Yeah, because you've got I'm not going to say it. I don't want to burn any bridges early on in my YouTube career. Yeah, Harrison stays at Leeds. It says here. That's disappointing. Pedro Porro is looking like he is now a Spurs player. Didn't look like it was going to happen at one point, but now he is a Spurs player, so that's good for them, I guess. See, they've done it right. You know, they've oh Jesus, they've brought in a right back. You loan one out. So if you're going to loan out a winger, bring another one in, and then if you're going to loan out another winger, bring another winger in. Easy for me to say. The reason I laughed was because Betty Buffoon, a holographic projection of Steve Irwin screaming "Crikey" for the unveil. Yeah, that would be awesome. I'd love that. I don't feel like maybe it's because Leicester have only really signed like 3 outfield players in the last 2 windows. But like announcement videos, I don't feel like they're as big a thing as maybe they were sort of like pre-COVID. Burnley seemed to go out and be very sort of extravagant with what they do. They did some Shrek themed thing the other day for one of theirs. But yeah, I don't, announcement. They were a real big thing. They were a massive thing at one point, weren't they? It almost became, in some cases, bigger than the transfer. I mean, do you remember Alexis Sanchez playing "Glory, Glory, Man United" on the piano in the middle of the pitch? I think. I mean, what the hell was all that about? And then you had what was his? What did you have? You had Pogba, who was basically announced via Stormzy that he was a Man United player. I mean, there's a bit of a theme there. If you have a over-the-top announcement video, you might end up being a bit shit. So, yeah. It's all gone a bit quiet. Matt Doherty on a free transfer to Atletico Madrid. Who saw that coming? Dabbing his announcement in Morse code, knowing Pogba. I mean, there was a couple of dabs in there in that announcement video. If I remember rightly, that came out before the club actually announced it. So, he got off to a wonderful start at United. Sonny said to me the other day there was talk of Pogba going back to United on loan. I can't see that happening. Surely not. Surely not like a third spell at a club where... No. That would be... Even in the summer, regardless of what happens with United this season, I do expect them to finish top 4. For me, they are favourites to win the EFL Cup, Carabao Cup. But Pogba, you don't want Pogba back. Never really got it. I never really understood that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've seen Pogba like when he played for France and been absolutely unbelievable, but he's usually had Kante next to him. So someone earlier, some pundit earlier, I believe, was it? I don't know who it was. I don't want to sort of name who it was necessarily because I don't want to get it wrong. Said that Eriksen being injured is a massive dent to United's top 4 hopes. I'm not having that. I think that's nonsense. That's nonsense personally. Send him to Forest so he can do TikTok 2-step with Lingard. Whatever the hell a TikTok 2-step is. I'm tired and rambling random crap. No, I think it's a thing. I think it is a thing, mate. Yeah, I mean, Lingard's not done... He's not done huge things at Forest, has he really? Scored a couple of goals. Oh, dear. I'm also... I too am I'm tired. I'm usually like in bed by now, drifting off to Bob's Burgers. Fucking great show. Waking up in the middle of the night wondering where my AirPods have gone. So yeah, less than 10 minutes until the window closes. So I mean, I don't know. I don't necessarily know. I know Dippy, you're here in the chat. I don't know whether Westy is still here. But you know, whoever is there, like, just comment and you know, let me know what player would you have really liked your side to have signed in this window. Be realistic. Be realistic. You know, I don't. You know, Wenger might have scouted him when he was 2, but you know, Westy, I don't want to see, you know, I don't want to see you put in Messi or anything like that. But you know, realistically, what player do you wish you'd have signed in the window? I can't necessarily think of. I mean, given what's sort of transpiring at Leicester, I wish we'd have been able to sign Harrison. To be honest, we need a winger. Gonzalez, that felt like a bit of a shame, really, but that kind of came and went fairly quickly. So yeah, Pedro Porro is officially a Tottenham player. Harry Souttar, medical at Leicester ahead of a 15 million transfer with potential add-ons. He looks like the Australian Maguire to me. But what you've got to remember is the Harry Maguire that we know now, who is you know, let's face it, he's a bit of a laughing stock. Some of it is a bit harsh. You know, when he was at Leicester, he was great. He was very, very good. Some might say he looked good because he was alongside Johnny Evans. You know, it's hard to know really, but he was good at Leicester. And although never an £80 million player, he was very much in that sort of bracket. Obviously, he had that amazing World Cup in 2018 as well. Billy Buffoon has put, usually in the office now, joys of days for 2 weeks on jury service, hence the presence. Okay. Jury service, not something I've ever been called up for. And he also thought the Harrison deal was going to go through at one point. Yeah, I did as well. I mean, there was part of me that thought it was like a massive smokescreen, and that Leicester were just being used to get Harrison to, or for Leeds to stump up the money for him to sign a new deal. Be interested to know whether Harrison did want the move to Leicester. One or two people sort of asked for me, said to me, why they're going after him when you've got Harvey Barnes? I said it on the podcast last week. Barnes needs competition. You know, he's the only left winger at the club, really, because Albrighton wasn't getting a game, and now looks like he's going. So for Barnes, he needs that competition, and you know, I think Harrison would have been a good signing. He would have pushed him for that. But anyway, looks like it's dead in the water. Let's have a quick look on Twitter, see what's going on. Oh, that was again another transfer that just was kind of like a bit like, where the hell has that come from? Was João Cancelo to Bayern Munich. I mean, last season he was unbelievable. He was incredible for Man City. Now he's come out and said that he hasn't fell out with Pep, that everything's fine, but a lot of reports are saying that them two have had a bit of a falling out. Pep's not been too happy with his attitude since the World Cup, and he's been loaned to Bayern Munich, and I think there is an option to buy for around 60 million in the summer, which for a 28-year-old is good money, regardless of how good he is. And look, I think there's going to be. I think in the summer window is going to be interesting. There's going to be a fair bit of movement around. I think Man City, you could see Mahrez, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan. They could all move on, and then that will, you know. And if João Cancelo goes as well, not that Man City necessarily need money to generate revenue for new players. But if they can get a good amount of money for those players, for those 4 players, that might put them back on the leading the race for Bellingham, which is a scary thought. I mean, come the summer, what's going to happen with the likes of Calvin Phillips? We don't know. He's not really getting a game. Wouldn't have minded him on loan, actually. That'd have been good. But we're defensive midfielder heavy at the moment. Let's have a quick look. So Spurs have done a fancy announcement video for Pedro Porro. And I'm about to sign for a new football. Oh yeah, okay. How should they announce? They've referenced the piano playing, the Alexis Sanchez thing. That's some top tier housery. That is some top tier housery. Dress up as a famous movie character. Oh, okay. So, oh Jesus. So basically, they've got him dressed up. In the end, it's I'm about to sign for a new club. How should they announce me? Write a club statement and post on the official website. Play a rendition of a famous club song on the piano, to which they'd waggle the finger. Post a cryptic clue in your club's social media. Reply to one of those thousands tweeting Arsenal. Follow your new club on their official Instagram. Make a YouTube compilation of the best moments in your career. If all fails, dress up as a famous movie character that's a pun on your name. And then the camera goes to him and he's got a mask on like Zorro because his surname is Porro. This is the sort of shit that gets signings delayed and gives fans heart attacks. You know, Leicester have got 3 minutes. They've got 3 minutes to announce Suter. Now, if it turns out that it's taken this long because they have done some elaborate stuff at the ground involving Australia, I don't know, maybe they've covered the whole, maybe they've covered all the whole pitch with like sand or something to make it look like Bondi Beach or some bollocks. We should have until 1 a.m. to finalise a deal. If there has been any kind of delays, it was established well before the 11 p.m. deadline. I mean, Leicester have got previous, haven't they? Remember the Adrian Silva stuff? You have signed him, but you were 14 seconds late getting the facts through, so he now can't play until January. He was another midfielder, very talented, very classy midfielder. Premier League too quick. Less than a minute now. According to Sky, how's the Sky Sports thing ahead of my laptop? That's strange. But yeah, the window is pretty much done. It says here that United have filed the deal sheet for Sabitzer before the 11 p.m. deadline. Got until midnight to finalise the loan. It's on track to get done. And here we go. We are in the final few seconds. And that is it. Transfer window's closed. We are done until the summer when the mentalness starts again. Breaking news, a 1 hour extension has been granted to Chelsea in order to get the deal for Enzo Fernandez done. January transfer window is closed. That's it. We're done. We're done, ladies and gentlemen. That was a fun hour. I enjoyed that. Yeah. We'll see. It seems like some deals are going to be done late on. They're going to be done afterwards. And I mean, I'm sure. I'd be very surprised now if Enzo Fernandez doesn't get done. One that I didn't mention was Cedric Suarez. So he looked like he was going to go to Fulham on loan, but they've already got 2 players on loan from the Premier League. I want to say from Premier League teams. So one of those deals would have to become permanent, or the player goes back to their parent club for that deal to be done. Another one that has just been announced, which we knew was going to happen, was Jonjo Shelvey has gone from Newcastle to Forest. So Lord Voldemort there is come down to the East Midlands. I knew that was going to happen because he was at Newcastle's game earlier and he came out onto the pitch at half time to say goodbye to the fans. He's been there a few years. And I think at the same time they announced that Anthony Gordon came out onto the pitch and was paraded in front of the Newcastle fans. So, yeah, interesting window. It's going to be an interesting end to the season. I fear for my health. I've got to be honest. I'm worried. Yeah. So if initial paperwork's gone through before 11, they've got until 1 a.m. to complete the signings. So I imagine that, at this point, sort of any announcements are going to be done sort of in the morning. Have a quick look. So there we have it. So yeah, there's a couple still not quite done, but there we go. Right, I'm going to end it there. Thank you very much for joining me. I've had good fun, and don't forget to check out the weekly podcast, which, as I've mentioned already, going forward will also be in video form. If you want to look at my pasty bearded face, don't forget to check out Added Time on Twitter at Added Football, on Instagram at Added Time Pod as well. I've set up my own YouTube, but I couldn't use it tonight, so I will obviously be putting stuff on there. So don't forget to subscribe to that. And I've also set up a Facebook page tonight. I'll try and use it, but I don't like Facebook very much. Thank you for your continued support. It means a hell of a lot. I know I'm not pulling in huge numbers, and this is just me wanting to do something that for the most part I enjoy doing. I mean, watching football at the minute is a little bit tough, but I love it all the same. So thank you very much. I will speak to you all soon. Don't forget to check out Games and Graps, and don't forget to check out the Clubhouse with Sonny G and Finn Steele over on Twitch, twitch.tv/the Finn Steele. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you very, very soon. Goodbye.